The floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. Can you confirm that the government informed House of Commons administration about the cyber attack?
I can, Mr. Chair, I can confirm that when we became aware in 2021 of some anomalies that we were seeing with regards to potential cyber activities towards the House of Commons, that we did indeed inform the House of Commons IT security team.
Thank you. Can you confirm that you told them which parliamentarians were targeted?
What I can say that when we became informed in June of 2022 by the FBI of all of what we were informed by them about the list of parliamentarians, we did indeed share that list of parliamentarians with the House of Commons IT security team, as well as we shared it to CSIS.
Thank you. Did you inform House of Commons administration similarly about the source of the attack?
As mentioned in the chronology, Mr. Chair, that was provided to the clerk, we make it clear there that since January of 2021, we were seeing a sophisticated actor doing some cyber activities towards the House of Commons. And as part of these actions, we provided 12 reports to the House of Commons, and we also held meetings with the House of Commons between ourselves and CSIS. And as part of these various activities, between the meetings and the reports that we provided, we were able to share with them information that was going to be important to be able to continue to mitigate the threat.
Okay, thank you, ma'am, but I'll repeat the question because you didn't answer it. The question was quite specific. Did you inform House of Commons administration specifically of the source of the attack?
So whenever we have a cyber incident, Mr. Chair, the thing we work to do immediately is focus on mitigating the threat. And then once we continue to have addressed the threat, then we, from a CSE perspective, work hard to try and better understand where the threat originated from. As we continue to learn that information, we do share that information with service providers and those that need to know, especially if it's going to be helpful to continue to mitigate the threat.
Yeah, but it wasn't a general question. It was a specific question about what you did in this case. Did you inform House of Commons administration about the source of the attack?
As part of the, Mr. Chair, as part of the various meetings and the reports that we provided, we were able to share what we believed at that time to be the originating source of the threat with the House of Commons IT security staff.
Okay, so that was a long way of saying yes, if I understood your response correctly. You did share with House of Commons administration, according to your testimony today, you did share with House of Commons administration the source of the attack, that being APT 31.
I believe that it would be more appropriate, Mr. Chair, to discuss some elements of the threat in the in-camera portion of the meeting.
Sorry, ma'am, I just repeated what you had said in your previous response to clarify it. So we shouldn't need to shift in camera for you to confirm that what you just said a minute ago was correct. Did you in fact tell us a minute ago that you had informed House of Commons administration that APT 31 was the source of the attack? Is that what you said earlier, or did I misunderstand?
So, Mr. Chair, what I shared was that when we know the originating source, or when we have a general understanding of the original source, we do share that information with service providers and those that need to know. And as part of that, we did share over 12 reports with the House of Commons IT staff, as well as held several meetings. And as part of these meetings, we were able to share information that linked to the originating element.
But did you? I don't know what you're trying to say to us, ma'am. I don't think it's a complicated question. It's a clear and specific question. The question is. And people are going to draw conclusions if there's prevarication here. Did you, at some point in a meeting, say clearly to House of Commons administration, the source of this attack is APT 31? Did you or did you not?
So, Mr. Chair, as I said, as part of the many meetings that we held, as well as the reports that we provided to the House of Commons, we provided what was at that time to be believed to be the originating source. We now know, because it is 2024 and have much more information in the collective of knowledge that we have, that this was an actor by the name of APT 31.
Okay, so did you at any point inform House of Commons administration that it was APT 31? And at what point was that?
So because from January 2021 all the way until, I forget the exact date because I don't have the CRON in front of me, but the almost a year in advance of the 2022 time that we got the FBI report, we were aware that APT 31 was the actor that was of concern for us from January 2021. As part of the conversations that we had with the House of Commons and the presentations that we made to them and the reports that we shared, we identified it that APT 31 was potentially the actor at that time.
Okay, so you're telling us now at the end of this round that you did inform the House that it was APT 31. Yes or no? Just yes or no?
I think, Mr. Chair, I've answered the question.
So it's a yes, or is it a no?
Okay, unfortunately, Mr. Jennis, that is time.
Thank you, Chair. I do have to just start by saying in response to the round of questions with Ms. Matheson that I find it laughably ridiculous to say that the government institution has so much respect for parliamentarians that they kept secrets from those parliamentarians about their own safety. That's not how you manifest respect in the relationships that I'm a part of by keeping vital secrets from people. Ma'am, when Parliament was briefed about aspects of this threat, did you expect the House of Commons IT department to inform members of Parliament about the specific threats?
Thank you for the question. Our understanding, or yes, I guess my expectation would be that if I'm passing on information to a partner, that a partner will do what is necessary to address the content of the information that is provided.
Sorry, ma'am, you really prevaricated in my last round, and I'm going to push you more because prevaricating in response to questions is a matter that touches on the privileges of parliamentarians. It was a very specific question. Did you expect them to brief members of Parliament who were threatened about these threats?
Mr. Chair, when we pass information on, the expectation is that it will be of use to others, and the expectation would be that, given that we shared a list of names, that somebody will act on it, whether it's to CSIS, and in this case,
that's not the question. That's not the question at all. It wasn't about whether you expected them to act on it. House of Commons IT's job is to protect the IT system.
Sorry, Mr. Jennis, just one moment. I've got a point of order.
Sure, I'm interested in the answers, and I don't think the witness has been given full opportunity to provide.
Then use your round. Come on, learn the rules here, Mr. Collins.
Just have some.
I have 5 minutes. Then you have 5 minutes.
Decency here in terms of allowing the witness to fully answer a question.
Okay. So, Mr. Collins, I hear you on the point of order. Mr. Jennis, I would ask that when a member is raising a point of order, you allow them to finish. I did stop the clock, Mr. Jennis, so the point of order has not caused you a loss of time. There are 3 minutes and 10 seconds remaining. I turn the floor back over to you, Mr. Jennis.
Thank you, Chair. If Liberal members aren't interested in drilling down to get to responses, that's on them, and that's evident from this disruption. To the witness again, it's a very specific question. The specific question is, did you expect House of Commons IT to take that information and go and brief parliamentarians who were threatened?
So, Mr. Chair, I'm going to pass on the information to, I'm going to ask if Rajiv would like to answer, given, as I said, he was present at the time, and in terms to have a better understanding of what the expectation
is. That because you don't know? I'm happy to hear from him, but is that because you don't know the answer to the question?
Mr. Chair, it's because I wasn't personally present. My expectation is, yes, that if I'm passing some information on to an institution or a House of Commons, that they are acting on it and that they're taking that information.
But you understand that that's not the question. The question is not whether they were going to act on it. The question is whether they were going to pass that information along to parliamentarians. Like you can't even tell me if you expected them to pass the information along to parliamentarians. That's the question. Did you expect them to take that information and tell me and others about it?
Mr. Chair, when we passed on the information, including the names, when we became aware of the names in June of 2022, Our expectation is that we gave them the information as well as actions that could be taken to mitigate, and that they would act on it.
Again, you're not answering the question. The question is not if you expect them to act on it. The question is if you expected them to brief parliamentarians. Did you expect them to brief parliamentarians? Yes or no?
Mr. Chair,
Yes or no?
one of the actions was to brief parliamentarians as part of the actions, then the expectation is, yes, that they would have done that.
Was that one of the actions? Did you suggest to them that they brief parliamentarians?
So,
It's a yes or no.
I was not present at the discussion. However, I have worked with HOC in the past. So expectations are based on
It's
evidence.
not about what you did in the past. I'm just looking for a yes or no answer to a simple question, and I'm trying to get to it in 5 minutes. And just because of who you work for, you're not exempt from the requirements to answer questions at parliamentary committees. So this is the question. Did you expect and did you communicate an expectation to House of Commons officials that the information would be shared with parliamentarians? Yes or no?
In working with the HOC, they have stressed from day one, over the decade plus that we've worked with them, that the independence of HOC is super important. They understand
yes
their
or no?
clients. We've worked with them many times. My understanding is that having worked with them in the past on incidents and seeing what has happened, is we have discussed this with them, and they have gone and done that job.
Did you
Based on past
expect
evidence,
them-
my expectation was that we would have that same discussion, and that based on their understanding of thresholds, I don't know the threshold when HOC, the Sergeant of Arms, will go and actually brief.
So did you communicate an expectation or not, or did you?
We communicate the threat and the context. So
you
understanding this is the
didn't.
exact threat,
So you didn't communicate an expectation.
an expectation to go and brief. We wouldn't tell them to go and brief. You have to go brief now. We would tell them this is really important and your members are at risk. These are types of things that we would say.
Thank you.
We don't say go and brief.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jenis. That's Jenis, to you for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. To the witnesses again, did you impose any caveats on the information you shared with the House of Commons?
What was that question again?
Did you impose any
Caveats.
caveats on the information you shared with the House?
There is typically on our reports a caveat that'll say, hey, you can't share this further without the city explicit authority of CSE. That would probably be the caveat. I'd have to look at the reports.
Okay. So if the reports contained a caveat saying that the information can't be further shared without CSE's permission, then how in the world would they have shared that information with parliamentarians without CSE's permission?
Well, all the information belongs to them, right? If it's their information, that belongs to them under whatever authority, FAA for the rest of the departments, and
That's why I asked you about caveats, though.
that would be in our reporting, in our explicit report. Like I said, we didn't even have the emails, so we would share the key to go find them. They would find them, and they'd have all free reign to go and share that.
Okay,
information.
but if you shared, I think it's important that you come back specifically with what those caveats are.
The caveats do not
because
restrict a
if-
system owner from sharing anything with their people.
But we're talking about information you shared with them, right? So the government has said that you had that they had information about members of parliament facing threats, including the source of those threats. You've just acknowledged that in the process of sharing that information with the House of Commons, you likely included an expectation that they wouldn't share that information with others without your consent.
So, Mr. Chair, I would reject the premise of that statement.
Mr. Chair.
Sorry, I just said what you said.
Mr. Chair, just to be clear, what my colleague was saying is that.
Well, I don't know. I'd like to hear what he was saying from him, actually. What were you saying, sir? Was there a caveat attached, or was there likely a caveat attached, as you said a minute ago, that information couldn't be shared without CSE's agreement?
They could always ask us if they wanted to share something specific from the report. Outside of the report, they have access to all of their IT systems, all of the information that they shared. That
did they ask you if they could share any information?
No. But,
Okay.
But if they did, and we have done
Okay, so
this many
here's
times,
the problem,
many
though.
times in the past with HOC.
Wait a
Rappel
second.
au règlement, Monsieur le Président, comment
A point of order, Chair. How do you expect interpreters to do their work when you have two conversations going on at the same time? Thank you, Madam Goodrow.
Ken, do your best. I appreciate that you want to direct your questions where you want to direct them, but I do think, I'm not going to take time away from anybody if there's a talking over and that's taking away from clarity of an answer. I'm not going to hold that against anybody, but I do think that we just have to play it smoothly here in terms of how we're conversing so that the interpreters can do their job. I have stopped the clock. There does remain 2 minutes and 20 seconds, and I do hope that all those that are speaking will afford the time for the person asking the question or responding to it to do so properly. Thank you.
Okay, so like this is why this situation is bizarre, right? So I'm here with my colleagues Blaine and Eric, right? If I have information that's highly relevant to Eric's life that I should probably share with him, and I say, okay, I'm going to tell Blaine, but I'm going to say, Blaine, don't tell anyone else, including Eric, without asking me first. And then 2 years later, I come back and say, well, it's not my fault I didn't tell Eric. I thought Blaine was going to tell him. When the simplest thing would have been for me to just tell the person affected rather than put it through a circuitous game of telephone with potentially caveats attached that limit the sharing of that information anyways, and potentially without all the information involved. Like fundamentally, the question is, why was all of this sort of nonsense interposed in between the people who had the information, which is the government of Canada, and the people who needed the information, which was members of Parliament under threat who could have taken further preventative action to protect themselves? Why was it so difficult for the government to just tell us directly?
Mr. Chair, as I've mentioned, we take our role very seriously, and we take the privacy of Canadians very seriously, and we take the role that we play with the service providers like the House of Commons very seriously. And we recognize that everybody has a role to play in the process. Having said that, I recognize that we're going to learn from this incident and hopefully get a better understanding, especially from the study that you'll do, on how we might do something differently.
Did you clearly tell the House of Commons that APT 31 was the source of the threat, and when did you tell them that?
So, Mr. Chair, as per the chronology, since January of 2021, we were aware of some activities going on. As was explained by my colleague Rajiv, we progressively started to better understand.
I asked a specific question that's not answered by the chronology. Did you tell the House of Commons that APT 31 was the source of the threat, and if so, when?
Mr. Chair, I do believe we've answered the question that we did tell the House of Commons that through the various interactions that we had with him, that we believed at that time that the threat was APT 31. Having said that, the member asked me what specific time that was, and I'm not able to tell you exactly which exact date that exactly happened.
Could you tell us the month?
Okay, thanks very much. Sorry,
year?
Mr. Jenness, we're already over time here.